Hello, my lovely ladies. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. My name is Isabel. So in the typical videos that I make here for you ladies, I'm constantly speaking about our non-negotiables in relationships, our boundaries in relationships, the values that you should be looking for in relationships. But I haven't quite talked about the things that are negotiable in relationships. And that is what I wanted to do in this video. So I put together a list of 9 negotiables that I think are appropriate in a relationship. So let's get into it. So this is clearly just my opinion and what I believe are negotiables. So if you find any of the things that I bring up in this video as a non-negotiable for you, then of course that is up to you to decide if it's a negotiable or a non-negotiable. This is just what I personally believe to be more of a negotiable than a non-negotiable. And I'm going to start with more of the lighter topics. And as I get down to the 9, I will touch on a little more harder topics that I find to be negotiable, but that some of you may not find to be negotiable. So stay tuned to the end of the video just so you can get that. All right, so number 1, the first thing that I find to be more of a negotiable is looks and style of dress. Now, this is something that most of you ladies, if you are familiar with my channel, you know I always say looks really doesn't matter. And I know a lot of you women want some really attractive guy, you want a heartthrob, you want to be like really into the guy. But I found from the years of dating and being married, I don't put that much value in men's looks when I am trying to seriously be in a relationship with them, just because that is not my end goal. Is just to be with a good looking person, right? I want to be with someone who is going to provide for me, who's going to give me a good lifestyle, who loves me and is willing to go out of their way to make me happy and do great things for me. Now, I'm not saying that people who are attractive aren't able to do this. I think my husband is fairly attractive and that is exactly his personality towards me. But I will say that is not what drew me into him, was his looks. It was more of the other things that I just brought up. And I know a lot of women kind of wrestle with this idea because they do want someone that they're super attracted to. But I always say the more a person is good to you, the more a person, provides for you and looks out for you, has your back and is wanting to be that protector for you, the more attractive they become to you. So I don't really bank a lot on looks, and I also don't bank a lot on the way a person dresses. I don't look at men and say, oh my God, he dresses so well, I'm so into him. It's just never been a thing for me. I like to be the feminine one. I like to be the one who dresses up and looks good and gets the compliments. It's not that I don't want my guy to look good or anything like that, but it's not something that's going to draw me in. If anything, I'm going to be a little bit more weary because I'm like, if he's really that much into the way he dresses, then he's probably going to use a lot of his money doing that. Whereas though if you see a guy and he's like pretty low key, pretty regular in his dressing, he's probably going to have more funds to buy you things, right? Rather than him using it to buy himself stuff. So that's just like a little tip that I've kind of picked up on, where most of the men that I've dated, who are mostly just professional guys, they pretty much dress normal. They don't really go out of their way to try to be extravagant in their way of dress. What I will say is that what they do have is usually good quality, probably a little more on the premium, expensive side, but that is because they are planning on wearing it constantly. Most of these men aren't going to be buying things and then just wearing it once and never wearing it again. They buy things to wear them constantly. So they do look for quality. And I rather that in a guy where he's, like, okay, I have a couple of things. Like with my husband, he mostly wears suits, and if he's not wearing a suit, he's wearing something that he's working out in, or he has a pair of jeans and like a button-down shirts that he wears like if we're just doing something casual, or he usually just has things for what he's doing. And he doesn't try to go out of his way to you know, wear luxury items with designer logos all over it. It's really not his style. His most expensive things are his suits because he's an attorney, so he has to, you know, present well in a suit and everything like that. But like I said, those kind of things don't really matter to me, and I think that they are negotiable. Like if a guy, again, was a provider, protector, he loved you, he gave to you, he poured into you, but he didn't dress well, then, you know, does it really matter? Like, dressing, like, a person could wear anything. It doesn't really matter to me, in my opinion. So number two kind of ties into number one, and that is height and weight. Again, this is a big topic for a lot of people where they're like, oh my God, like he has to be 6'5", he has to be, you know, really fit or something like that. And actually, I don't think the fit thing is as popular as people may think it is, because a lot of the time women are okay with like a dad bod or anything like that. And I really must say that I've never really been into height. I haven't used that as a way to measure if I was going to be into a person or not, because that was just never my focus. I was always focused on lifestyle and how the person treated me and, you know, what it looked like being with that person, not necessarily by the looks or the height of it. I've dated men who were like 5'10". I've dated men who are 6'5", 6'7", I don't even know. My husband's like 6'2", so it doesn't even really matter to me, and it's never been a big deal because of all the reasons I said earlier. And I think that is just such a negotiable. When it comes to weight, that is, as long as a person is relatively healthy, like I don't think you should be with anybody who's like medically obese or anybody who's going to have like severe health issues because of their weight. But I feel like it's not a requirement, or it's like a non-negotiable if a person isn't extremely fit, because even if you are a woman who goes to the gym and you're really fit, does it matter that another person isn't the same way? I feel like that's the problem that a lot of women are facing, is that they're trying to look for someone who's exactly like them. And I promise you, you're going to be very annoyed with that person, because people who are like very much mirror you and are the same as you, you're going to start to see the same flaws that you have in them. And it's going to like affect you even more because you know that's the same flaw you have. So it's like, it just becomes more of a problem. But back to what I was saying about weight, I feel like weight isn't that big of a deal as well, because as long as they are healthy, then, you know, it should be all good. I wouldn't suggest you being with someone who is unhealthy and, you know, is going to have medical complications down the road. But if he has like a dad bod, or if he's not like a big like weightlifting guy or anything like that, is that really a big deal? I don't think so at all. So I definitely would say that is definitely a negotiable. So for number three, I'm going to say travel experience is a negotiable. A lot of people feel like, oh my God, this person, you know, needs to be really traveled like me. They got to enjoy traveling. You know, I love to experience different places, different cultures, and I want to experience that with my partner. Or, you know, they have to have went to a couple countries before, or, you know, have a passport and do all this stuff. I feel like, yeah, in theory, that sounds good, but there are a lot of people who don't enjoy traveling. And I think that we think that everybody enjoys traveling, everybody enjoys that experience, but that is not necessarily true. I know for me and my husband, we enjoy traveling. We travel quite a bit, but even with my father-in-law, he is not a big traveler. That is not his thing at all. And my mother-in-law travels. And so she will travel with her daughter, with us, and, you know, we will experience it together. And my father-in-law doesn't travel. He's not into it. It's not his thing. If he doesn't have to, he won't do it. If it's not for business, he's not going to go. And it's not because he doesn't want to go on family vacations or do anything like that, but he's just not into traveling. And at his age right now, he's not going to do anything that he doesn't want to do. When he was younger, you know, he traveled, he had a family, you know, my husband and his sister. So they they, you know, traveled as a family. But now that he's older, he's like, hey, if I don't got to travel, I'm not going to travel. And I say that because that doesn't mean that you need to be with someone who wants to travel as much as you do. Not everybody enjoys traveling. Not everybody has the urge to travel, or not everybody has traveled before. Because I know some people feel like, oh my God, this person has never been anywhere, and you know, like they're not traveled enough. And it's like, well, they can get like if they like to travel, they can travel with you. You know, you can teach them something new about a new place. You can take them to somewhere new. You can, you know, suggest different things. You can be the one to spearhead those kind of travels, right? And I don't think that that's so much of a big deal. Like a person has to be a traveler just because, you know, you may be. And I feel like that could be vice versa as well. So I feel like there are so many women who miss out on opportunities with really great guys because of this. And I feel like it's just not that big of a deal if a person is into traveling or not, because that's like subjective, right? Not everybody is going to be into it. So we shouldn't treat it like it's just like everybody likes it. It's the same thing like if everybody likes to eat ice cream. It's like, well, some people don't like to eat ice cream. Some people don't like candy. Some people don't like chocolate. Even if it's like, oh my God, how could you not like ice cream, chocolate, candy? But it's like, well, I don't like it. It's not for me. And that's perfectly fine, right? It's something you can negotiate about. And I don't think it's a deal breaker at all. And for number 4, this kind of ties into the travel, and that is hobbies in common. Again, this is something that people think that they need to have hobbies together and they need to be doing, you know, their favorite thing together. And honestly, you really don't need to. I will just say for me and my husband, we do have a lot of good hobbies together. Like we like to bike ride, we like to work out, we like to play golf. But there are hobbies that we don't have together. He plays baseball. I do not play baseball. I do Pilates. He does not do Pilates. So there are different things that we do differently that are hobbies of ours. And there are things that we do together. But there are so many things that we do apart. I love fashion. I love makeup. I love doing things like this. He's not into any of those things. So I think that is like a big difference in our hobbies. But again, that's okay because I don't want someone who is going to do every single thing with me. I like to do my own thing sometimes. I go to Pilates with my sister. That is our bonding time. We love to do it together. It energizes us. We get a great workout together. My husband, not so much into it. I love yoga. I tried to get my husband to try it. He did it for a couple of days and said, you know what? It's not my thing. I'm not into it. And that's perfectly okay. I'm not really into baseball. I mean, I watch it now more because of him, but that's not my thing. But hey, that's what he does. I support him in it. So I think it's important for us to know, like, not everything has to be like perfect match. We like to do this together and it's cool. It's good to have some things that you can do together and that you enjoy together, but it doesn't have to be everything or your main thing. If your main thing is playing golf, right, and he doesn't like, or you don't like to play golf, that is not a big deal. That is not a deal breaker in my book. So this one is another big one where it's a person could be a homebody or a person who likes to stay outside. This kind of comes up a lot more because a lot of people may want to stay inside. They don't like to go out at night. They don't like to socialize, do happy hours or anything like that. But the person they're in a relationship may really enjoy that. They may be a little more extroverted. They may want to mingle and just network and be outside a little more. I don't think this is a big deal. I think this is negotiable. I think that you can really come to a happy medium on this. And I feel like some people kind of give up on the relationship a little bit with this, or when they do sacrifice and say, okay, fine, I'll go out, or fine, I'll stay in, if nobody's really happy about it. And I feel like you can do both. Like, I'm definitely more introverted, but I like to be outside sometimes. Like, I'm not big on I want to be outside every single weekend, but I also don't want to stay in the house all the time either. So you have to have a balance. For couples or people who may feel like, okay, this person likes to always go out and I don't like to go out that much, so maybe we can't be together. I think you can negotiate. I think you can go outside your comfort zone a little more and say, okay, like, we'll go out sometimes. And the other person can be like, okay, let's stay in sometimes. Or you can even find a happy medium and have a game night at home, or make home more fun, or invite people over. Or if that's not your thing either, you just want to be home and just chilling and stuff, make it fun for one another, but also find a compromise. And I feel like that is more easier to do than to just say, okay, this is a negotiable, non-negotiable, it's not going to work. Like, it's definitely going to work. I think that is like a no-brainer, but I just wanted to put it in here because I feel like some people do find that, oh my God, this person loves to stay outside, or this person loves to stay in the house. It can't work, but it absolutely can, as long as you're willing to negotiate and compromise and do things in both inside and outside together. Or deciding, like, you know, if we're gonna go out, let's go out a little bit earlier. Let's go to dinner a little bit earlier so that way we can get back home. And when we're home, we can watch our favorite show. I mean, that's something me and my husband do a lot. Like, we like to catch an earlier dinner, so then that way if we want to like be home and watch a show together or just chill in the living room or something like that, we can do that together. We're not just like out all night and then coming home and then falling asleep, passing out or whatever like that. Like, we get to just enjoy both. And so I think that is important for any relationship, for you to find a happy medium, especially when it comes to that. But moving on to number 6. Now this is going to get a little more tricky. So this is another thing that I think is negotiable, is higher level of education. Now, you ladies, if you're familiar with the channel, you know I always say date a professional man. You know, you want to get with a guy who has some type of profession that is, I mean, for the most part, prestigious enough where he went and got a degree for, and he's doing really well. Maybe he's a doctor, maybe he's a lawyer, maybe he's in the executive office. But I also think that you should leave room for entrepreneurs as well, people who may have not got their master's degree or got a JD or ND or anything like that, and they decided, hey, I'm gonna build a business, and then that business made them successful, and now they have a successful business, but they don't have the same education level, say with a master's or any of those things I said before. So the reason why I'm saying this is because I do speak with a lot of women, and a lot of women tell me like, oh, I want a guy who, you know, has a master's, and, you know, he's this and this, and, you know, he has all these accolades. And I always tell them, like, you do have to leave room for the guys who are entrepreneurs and successful in it. They don't have all these accolades, and it's really not that important, because their actual work in their business shows just how much of a determined and achieved person they truly are. And I feel like you can limit yourself if you just feel like, I need to be with someone who has this certain degree, right? And I'm not saying don't go for the guys who have the degrees and have, you know, the doctor or the Esquire at the end of their name or anything like that, but I'm saying you can leave room for the people that don't take that traditional route to their success, and that way you can have more options. And I know like most of people may know this already, but I do think that sometimes when manifesting a partner, that we get in our heads like, okay, they have to be this exact way, and if they don't fit this kind of way, then I don't want to be with them. And I feel like this, like the higher education level, like I do want him to have some type of education, right? Have a high school diploma, maybe a bachelor's degree. And if he doesn't even have that, then his business has been successful for multiple years, and that's been his success story, is his, you know, the business that he's created. We have to leave room for that, because that is very much so possible, and it is a reality that we live in, where there are entrepreneurs who have built great businesses and they don't have these prestigious degrees to go with it. And I think that is perfectly fine. So I know that maybe not many of you women who think like that, but I do know women who do think like that, and they feel like, hey, I have this degree, he needs to have it too. And I have to just say, as long as he has the success, he doesn't really need the degree, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm with an attorney, so he does have the degree, he has that level, but he does own his own law firm, and that I see is more important about what his business is able to accomplish, what success he's able to reach, rather than the degree. The degree doesn't really mean anything if your business, it doesn't go anywhere. So I feel like, you know, that's just important to remember. So number 7, we are going to talk about location. Now, location is a big deal, because so many people are in long distance relationships. And although I'm not 100% on long distance relationships, I feel like they're very tricky, and you can end up in messy situations in long distance relationships, but I do find that they are negotiable. And the only way they work for me and what I suggest to other women is that if somebody is planning on moving, I do think that if you are going to be in a long distance relationship because where you live does not have the guys that you are interested in dating, and you found somebody that is miles away and you need to hop on a plane to go see them, then I do think that that is a negotiable, but I also think that there has to be plans for somebody to move. And if it's you that has to move to them, then obviously you want to make sure that everything is taken care of. He has a nice, like you would do your homework on this person. But I don't think it's like a non-negotiable, like he doesn't live over here, we don't live in the same state, it's a non-negotiable. I think it's a negotiable. I really do. Do I suggest, if you have an option to not date anybody outside of your location, then yeah, sure. I would not, say go out of your way, just check out what you got here before you start going further away. But I would definitely say if you do end up finding someone and they are further away, then yeah, negotiate. I think that's a negotiable. I do think that you can move. He can move. Like, well, honestly, if he already has a house somewhere else and you guys are, into each other, going to get engaged and all this stuff, like I would move. I would be like, all right, well, if we're engaged and we're going to get married and all this stuff, then I'll move there. Because you already have a house, you already have the career, you already have things settled over there. So why would I make you move to me? And if it's that he is willing to move to you and he likes where you live, then even better. But I will say that you do have to have that type of conversation where it's like, who's going to move? Because you don't want to end up in a long distance relationship and nobody moves and you're just like visiting back and forth. And I feel like that will be a stagnant. So as long as you're willing to have that conversation and compromise and really figure out who's going to move, where we're going to actually settle at, then I think you'll be good. As long as you're willing to do that, I think you'll be fine. So that's what I think about location and long distance relationships. So number 8, something that I definitely think is a negotiable is race and ethnicity. As you ladies know, if you've been here, I myself am married to a man of European descent. So you already know race isn't that big of a deal for me. And I don't really think that it should be a big of a deal to really anybody. I understand that some people want to just date a person of the same race or ethnicity as they are. But I do feel like this world is very, very vast and you may be missing out on somebody just because you want a certain person in your head. And I really, truly think that that is definitely a negotiable. Like if you are a Black woman and you only want to date Black men, but none of the Black men who you dated want to marry you or want to have a serious relationship with you, do you just hold out hope and feel like, okay, well, let me just keep on hoping that some Black man will come out of anywhere, even though I had years of experience of them not showing up for me in that way? Then, I feel like you're going to be waiting a long time. And I don't personally feel like it's worth it. Now, that's never been my situation. If you guys know my story, you know that I've dated all races. I really did not care about race. That was never my big thing. It was all about, lifestyle provisions and all of that good stuff. I really didn't put a lot of emphasis on race, and it's worked out for me. But I do want to say for a lot of women, they do put an emphasis on race, and I feel like that could also hold you back from the relationship that you truly want. And it's not just Black women, it's any woman who does it. And I feel like you could be missing out on the person that truly wants to be with you and give to you and give you the life that you want to have. And I feel like that could really hold you back if you just say like that's a non-negotiable. They have to be this race, they have to be this ethnicity. And I really don't feel like that's necessary. I think it really delays what you're actually trying to get, which is a relationship, a marriage, or anything like that. I feel like it holds you back from even getting there because you've already put the boundary of race into it. Now, I do think that you can date like all races, and then you actually just might end up marrying a black guy. Like I've seen that so many times where friends of mine have dated like all races, but then they end up marrying a black guy and they're black, right? Or a white woman would date like all types of guys and then end up marrying a white guy, right? Or, you know, she'll only date white guys and then end up marrying an Asian guy. So you never know who you're actually going to marry. And I think that it's good and smart to get your options out there and be flexible when it comes to this, because I don't feel like it's that deep. I would negotiate on that big time. And the final thing that I want to talk about, and probably the most serious thing that I think some people may not agree with me on, is I do feel as though that religion and spirituality is negotiable. Now, hear me out, hear me out. I know some of you guys are like, oh no, she's lost it. No way. But honestly, I have always thought this. And it's because I grew up with so many different religions around me and spiritual practices around me that I didn't feel uncomfortable if somebody else was something different than what I believed. Because I do believe that your spiritual journey, what you go through spiritually, is so personal and it's so tailored to just you as a soul in your spirit that you can't save another person, or you can't really do anything to help a person's spirit other than just being a good person to them, right? Or maybe hearing them out or just supporting them in other kind of ways. But everybody's on their personal spiritual journey, because we're not in anybody else's mind. We're not in their soul. We can't really control that area in them. So if someone has a different spiritual belief, I don't really feel like it's that big of a deal and that you don't need to talk to them because you don't align spiritually. There are so many people who I grew up with where one parent was Christian, one parent was Jewish or Muslim, or someone was Hindu and the other one was Christian, or one person was Sikh and the other person was agnostic, or someone's an atheist and the other person believes in Jesus Christ. Like these, I've seen this multiple times, and the way I've seen this work out for people is because they respect each other. And I think that is a big thing to remember. Now, for me, this just wasn't a big deal. As some of you ladies know, I was actually in a relationship with an atheist before, and I was in relationships with the agnostic before. Me and my husband is Christian, and I'm not really into religion. I'm more into spirituality. I studied all of the religions, and my husband has too, and so we kind of connect on it, but we are on two different spiritual journeys. So we connect about our spirituality. We don't force each other to, you know, go to church or do this for one another, because for us, it's more of a personal thing. It's more of something that you do because it makes you feel more connected to the Most High, God, or the universe, whatever way that you believe in it. It really has nothing to do with anybody else but you. Now, some people may feel like they want, you know, this kind of connection because they want to raise children together. And I understand that, but I think that we always seem to forget that you once was a child. And if you were a child like me, you were always curious, and you didn't just follow the religion that your parents gave you. No, you either walked away from the church or you researched more about different religions. You really got into just the whole society of religion, or you got more into the occult or in spirituality, and you did even more deeper research. So you can try to instill these values into your children, which I think all religions have similar values in them. And I think that is good and great, but I don't think that this denomination of your religion is exactly what your child is going to practice in the long run. There are so many people that I know that started off Christian and now are Muslim, or started off, you know, Christian and now don't believe in anything, or are atheist, or, you know, they were Catholic and now they're Hindu. There are so many different religions and things out there, and I feel like people get called to them for certain reasons, and I just don't think that is a non-negotiable. some of you ladies may disagree with that one, but I had to put it in here because that is just how I truly feel. I would not date someone because they had a different religion. I just truly wouldn't. And I think just because my knowledge of religion and how far back it goes and what the core messages are in all of them kind of coincide with one another, that I don't see anything really wrong with it. Now, when it comes to dating an atheist, I really personally never had an issue with that because the person was just still a good person. They just didn't believe in, you know, the story of the Bible or the Quran or the Torah or any of the books, right? The Book of the Dead, whatever it may have been, they just didn't believe in it and they didn't put the same value in it. And that was perfectly fine because, again, that is not you, right? As much as we want to like help other people to see our way because we think we know the right way, we're not all on the same spiritual journey. We're not all here to do the same thing or feel the same thing. And yeah, you may say, well, then I don't want to connect with that person, but that could actually be a really great person. And that person can actually teach you a lot about yourself. And that person could actually be the kind of person you probably need, just because you don't need to be in an echo chamber where you can't see yourself and you can't hear what you're actually talking about, or you can't see another perspective. And I think that is very important. And I just want to throw in a little bonus here because it just came to my mind. Because of the times that we're in, I also believe that politics is a huge negotiable. And I feel like people put so much weight on their politics and they feel like, oh my God, that is a non-negotiable. And I feel like, no, like that again is very personal. That is just how someone comes to a conclusion on how they see fit to run a society. And if a person, because I have friends that are socialists, that are anarchists, that are Democrat, that are Republican, like I have it all, independent, libertarians, all of it. And I honestly love them the same, all of them. Like I don't look at this person as more holier than thou. I don't look at this person as worse. I feel like everybody has the right to their own perspective and how they see the world and how they see society should be run. You guys may know I am not into any of those things. I just kind of look at things for what they actually are. I don't try to label myself in any of it. And I respect all of it and I see through all of it. But I feel like a lot of people miss out on great people because, this person may have been Republican, or this person doesn't believe in government, or this person is an anarchist, right? So I just wanted to put that out there for you ladies. I hope that it didn't ruffle too many feathers, but let me know down in the comments. Please like this video. That would really help me out. And if you want a one-on-one goddess check-in, my information is down below. Be sure to check out the Feminine Way to Date online. That is also linked down below. And yeah, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.